Hi everyone, it's CelesteOrchid and welcome back to my channel. In today's DIY, we are going to be making a velvet jumpsuit! This velvet jumpsuit was inspired by some of the items that I've seen online and other jumpsuits as well. I really wanted to have a loose-fitting pant jumpsuit and I wanted one to have a choker. I think chokers on jumpsuits are really interesting, or like having a high halter, but I wanted a V neckline jumpsuit. My velvet I got from Nissan West in my London haul. You can see up here in the annotation. I created this jumpsuit using a Walmart pattern that cost me 97 cents. And then I drafted the top V-neck pattern myself. And then of course I just added the choker at the end. If you have any questions, make sure to leave me a comment down below. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you're inspired by any of my work. It means a lot to me if you leave a like, because I know that you like my work. So now let's get into the DIY. So I'm using this So Simple from Simplicity pattern. It was only 97 cents from Walmart. And unfortunately, I lost some of the pieces, so I will only be using the pants. For my fabric, I decided I'm going to be using this very beautiful velvet stretch from Nissan West. I got this in London at Gold Hawk Road, and you might have seen it from my previous London fashion haul. And this fabric is such a pain to work with, but it's beautiful! Before we start using the pattern, make sure you get your waist measurement, your inseam measurement, and how long you want your pants to be. This is very easy. Just wrap it around the smallest part of your waist, the center of your crotch, all the way down to the floor, and then on the outside of your pants, you want to measure that. I've used this pattern already. I already have the pants cut out, but if you haven't, make sure you follow the chart and cut along the lines where you need to go to cut out your pants. And now take your pants pattern, lay it out nice and flat on top of your fabric. Make sure your fabric is nice and smooth and pin it down. Obviously, you know what step comes next. And now I cut it out! Just like this. Because I cut the fabric on the right side, we're going to have to flip it over and put the right sides together. And then we're going to pin it at the crotch, and we're going to sew that down first. And they're going to do this on both sides, on the front piece and the back piece. Now sew it all together, meaning sew the front crotch part and then the back butt part. After finishing both front and back pieces, we are going to pin together our pants at the inseam. So that way we can combine them into one pair of pants. Go ahead and start pinning all the way down, making sure that your crotch seam matches the back butt seam. After pinning down your pants, start at the crotch seam and then sew your way down the leg inseam. This way, your pant seam for your jumpsuit is going to be nice and even and smooth. Make sure to do this for both sides because you have two legs. Once you have finished sewing the inseam of your jumpsuit pants part, you are going to sew the side seam together to make an enclosing for the pants of the jumpsuit. Obviously, just go ahead and sew it down on both sides, and then you should have a loose pair of pants. Moving on to the next part, we are going to be needing a tape measure, and we are going to be measuring how long we want our pieces from the starting part of our shoulder and then all the way down to kind of past our belly button. And then we want to do it for the back. So make sure you have two different sizes because you're not going to be the same. I wanted my shirt to be a little bit baggy, and so I used a longer piece. So mine actually went a little bit further. And then of course we want to measure out our shoulder width. We are going to take these measurements and then we're going to create a box shape. On my fabric, I already marked down the dimensions that I used. And then I used half of what my shoulder width was because I'm doubling up my back piece. So I'm cutting out two pieces for the back piece and then one giant piece on a fold for the front piece. So when I am done, I actually created a back neck hole so that it lays nicely on my neck. I gave myself a little bit of seam allowance and I trimmed it down. And you can see that I actually made a curve so that my arms can go in and out and it wouldn't be such a stark contrast on the shoulders. I'm using the back piece as a template for the front, and I'm going to cut it in a little bit more on the sides. And then for fun, I'm going to make a triangle V shape at the front. That way my neckline is different. And don't forget to make nice curves for your armholes. And then of course, you want to cut this out on the fold. The reason why we want this on the fold is because I didn't want any seams on the front of the jumpsuit. Now align the front and the back together and cut off any of the excess fabric. Now bring it to the sewing machine and sew the back seam down. The reason why we want a back seam is because we want to have a lot of stretch in the back so you can move and be flexible. After you finish sewing down the back seam, combine it with the front shirt part, right sides facing together. Sew down the top shoulder part and the sides to create a nice shirt. Now before we combine the shirt piece and the pants piece to make a jumpsuit, make sure you try on your shirt piece first to see if you need to make any alterations. I made my sleeves a little bit too big, so I'm going to have to go in and take it in a little bit, but that's okay. This is why it's DIY. Next, start cutting out strips of fabric so that you have sleeve facing, and that way you don't show off the inside. The inside of the fabric is just plain white and it's not as pretty. Having a facing really shows a nice clean edge. So I cut out 3 different strips, 2 for the armholes and then 1 for the collar. Now align it with the shirt piece and right sides facing together and sew it down. After you're done, flip it over and it kind of creates a bias tape look, and then sew that down again. So this is what it looks like when it's done. I used a really big amount of scrap fabric and I overestimated it, so I'm going to have to go in and cut it. So this is actually the top right where the shoulders are, and it doesn't lay flat. So I'm going to have to go in and cut it a little bit so it will lay flat and it has a little bit of give. I then cut off any of the excess strips because I really didn't need that much to be inside. I just wanted a really clean hemline on the sleeves and the collar. Almost done with this DIY, guys. This jumpsuit's almost completed because we have the shirt and we have the pants. Now find the middle point of your front of the shirt, and then we are going to combine it with the pants. So attach it to that front center seam that we created not too long ago and pin it together. Once you find that, find the back center seam of the back. Obviously you have a seam there, and then pin it to the back part of the pants, right sides facing together. Slowly work your way around the pantsuit, making sure that you gather evenly, and then bring it to the sewing machine. We are going to be sewing the shirt to the pants to make the jumpsuit. And don't worry, just go ahead and sew it because you must have done a great job pinning. Once you're done sewing, go ahead and grab black elastic, and I'm using this about 2-inch width black elastic, and we are going to be stretching this around our waist and then cutting it so that we get a good size measurement. We're at the home stretch! Just kidding. So now take that elastic piece and start at the back seam, stretch it slightly, and now we're using a zigzag stitch to sew this down. We are going to be pulling this as tight as possible when sewing this because we want it to go very nice and smoothly and gather the fabric while you are sewing it. After I was done, I decided I wanted to add a choker to the jumpsuit, so I made a small rectangle at the same size of my neck. And I added 2 inches so that it can overlap. We're going to use closures for this so that it doesn't choke us for real. In order for us to add the choker to the jumpsuit, we're going to be sewing it semi onto the back seam line of the jumpsuit top. So we're going to be adding 1 inch forward to it so that it's not directly on it, and it gives a little bit more stability, and then we're going to sew it down for about 2 to 3 inches. I'm using a zigzag stitch to properly attach it, and that way I don't ruin the hem. Make sure to close your seams. The last and final step not pictured here is adding snaps to the choker so you can take it on and off. For this look, I paired my jumpsuit with a black denim jacket, a nice necklace, and black boots. It was so cold outside that it was kind of hard to smile at the camera sometimes, but we had a lot of fun. So I hope you enjoyed this DIY jumpsuit project. Leave a comment down below if you would wear it, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Make sure to stay inspired and be creative. I'll see you in the next video.